Snark Squad. Babes, it's Monday evening.
Yeah.
And it's cold. Like winter is back. Did summer ever even arrive?
We've got our warmest pajamas on, the wine out, and babes, we are ready to spiral.
I mean, we really are, because one of us is absolutely not having a good day.
Yeah, let me just set the scene for you guys right now. Left the apartment this morning, ran errands, came back home, and babes, it was 59 degrees inside.
I literally cannot even fathom the physical misery of that.
We thought winter was over, and now we are recording in what feels like the Arctic. This is too much. I'm sitting here in fleece-lined joggers, a cashmere sweater, like a literal blanket, and I am still shivering. The disrespect of my own building's heating system is just, it's unparalleled.
See, I don't know what you're talking about. My apartment, 75 degrees. Cozy. Perfect.
As it should be. You are single-handedly funding the local utility company. You are literally burning money.
Okay, well...
Do you know what 75 degrees costs in this economy? We are in a recession. You are paying for, like, a tropical microclimate in your living room.
Okay, but listen to me. What is the point of saving, like, $50 a month if you have to walk around your own home looking like an extra in a survival movie?
It is not $50.
Like, you're giving me Survivor Winter Cabin energy right now? Why work hard? Why do all of this if we can't be comfortable? I want to step out of the shower and not immediately start shaking and crying.
Crying, really?
Yes. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? When you step onto the bath mat and the cold air hits wet skin, it is a visceral trauma.
It is a financial hemorrhage is what it is. And let's be analytical about the physics of indoor heating for a second.
Oh boy, here we go.
No, listen. When you crank an internal heating system to 75 degrees in a cold climate, you are completely stripping the ambient moisture from the air. You are basically suffocating in stale, baked oxygen.
I am breathing just fine, thank you.
It is terrible for your skin barrier. It dries out your respiratory system, and you're dehydrating yourself while you sleep. You can always put more layers on. You can put on a cute, oversized sweater, get under a weighted blanket.
Excuse me. My skin is luminous. The humidity is locked in via, like, extensive Korean skincare. I am basically a greenhouse orchid thriving in my curated environment while you are freezing in the tundra.
I am being fiscally responsible and environmentally conscious while you are running a dry sauna. I want the Snark Squad to weigh in on this immediately.
Oh, they are going to agree with me.
We will see. Are you team 59 degrees and wearing a cute hoodie, or are you team 75 degrees and casually walking toward financial ruin just to wear a silk tank top in April?
Nobody wants to be cold. But anyway, speaking of real estate and apartments and heating bills, we need to talk about something.
Yeah, we do.
A friend is moving to Houston.
Yep.
And honestly,
yeah,
we're excited for them because, babes, Texas real estate, cheap compared to here, like shockingly cheap.
It is actually absurd.
You look at Zillow in Texas and suddenly you're like, wait, I could own a sprawling mid-century modern with a wraparound porch, an outdoor kitchen, and a pool for the price of my current studio apartment.
Yeah, that completely got us thinking. I was looking at the listings for Houston, and the sheer square footage sent me into a complete and total chaotic, hypothetical spiral.
I love a spiral.
If we could just pack up and move based on vibes, food, and entertainment, where would we go? Because right now, sitting in my 59-degree igloo, I am ready to flee.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I have been romanticizing this all day. I have my top 3. And they are based on nothing but pure, unadulterated emotion, aesthetic, and completely unrealistic expectations.
Naturally. Let's hear the delusion.
Okay, my number 1. A coastal Italian villa. Amalfi Coast, Positano.
Oh, wow.
I don't care about the logistics. I don't care about the plumbing issues that come with a 400-year-old house carved into a cliffside. I just want to wake up, throw open the wooden shutters, look at the Mediterranean, eat an entire bowl of fresh pasta, drink wine at noon, and just cry the sunset because it's so beautiful. That is my daily schedule.
So your retirement plan is to become a dramatic Italian widow?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wearing all black linen, a subtle lace mourning veil, grieving a husband who mysteriously vanished at sea under highly suspicious circumstances.
Obviously suspicious.
And I'm just thriving on complex carbohydrates and local gossip.
Okay, but how are you paying for the pasta? Do you speak conversational Italian? What happens when it rains and the cliff starts eroding?
Stop bringing logic into my fantasy. The universe will provide the pasta.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What's number 2?
Okay, my number 2, Beverly Hills. Specifically, I want to be a neighbor to a Bravo housewife.
Oh, my God.
Want to live in a gated community, carry a tiny dog in a designer bag, go to Vanderpump Rules restaurants every single night, and just exist in the epicenter of reality TV chaos. I want to casually run into Lisa Rinna in the produce section of Erewhon.
You would be exhausted in 3 days. The traffic alone on the 405 would break your spirit, not to mention the social exhaustion of having to be camera ready to buy a $12 organic peach.
I wouldn't drive.
Yeah.
I would be driven. And my number 3, a remote cabin in the woods. But like a billionaire's cabin, a Nancy Meyers movie cabin in upstate New York.
Ah, the chunky knit sweater fantasy.
Yes, where I wear chunky knit sweaters, drink out of giant artisanal ceramic mugs with both hands, and a private chef cooks all my meals while I pretend to write a novel that will never be published.
Okay, so your 3 options are Italian widow, Bravo stalker, and a woman who has been kidnapped by a billionaire but is genuinely enjoying the high-end amenities.
Yes, absolutely. What are yours, Mr. Analytical? Where's your chaotic snark taking you?
Well, my choices are based on maximizing culinary excellence and minimizing human annoyance.
Shocking.
My number 1 is Tokyo. The food scene is unparalleled on a global scale. You can get Michelin star-level ramen from a literal vending machine operation in a subway station.
That is actually wild.
But the best part, it is a society built on extreme efficiency and polite, structured distance. You don't have to make small talk with strangers, you just eat the best sushi of your life, walk the incredibly clean streets, and exist in a beautifully organized system.
You would miss gossiping with me. You'd be calling me at 3 a.m. Tokyo time, begging for drama, because the polite distance would start feeling lonely.
I mean, I would just text you from a cat cafe. It'd be fine.
Fair.
My number 2 is literally anywhere in Spain or Portugal where the concept of time is merely a suggestion.
Ooh, yes.
I want to live somewhere where taking a nap in the middle of the day is not just acceptable, it is an institution. I want to eat tapas at 10 p.m. I want to sip sangria and aggressively judge American tourists from a corner cafe table.
Okay, wait, I love the judging tourists part. We could do that together. We could hold up scorecards for bad footwear.
Exactly. See, you get it. And my number 3 is, I'm going to go with Copenhagen.
Copenhagen, babes, it is freezing there. You are literally complaining about your 59-degree apartment right now.
Yes, but in Copenhagen, they understand the architecture of the cold. They have structural integrity in their heating system.
Gosh.
They have radiant floor heating. They don't just pretend winter is over in April and arbitrarily turn off the building's radiators. Plus, the culinary scene. Noma changed the world. I would just wrap myself in minimalist Scandinavian wool, eat complex cardamom pastries, and ride a sleek bicycle around while looking effortlessly better than everyone else.
You riding a bike in the snow is something I would pay good money to see.
It would be very chic.
Honestly, Snark Squad, where would you move? Send us your most chaotic, unrealistic destinations.
All right, before we get to the main event, we need to do our Rose and Thorn Easter weekend edition.
No.
Since we both had a day off, we had time to actually exist out in the wild.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, I will go first. My rose for this weekend, it was just so emotional and pure.
Here we go.
I was walking through the park, and the cherry blossoms were finally popping, and there was this family having a picnic. They had a golden retriever puppy, and this puppy broke away from them, ran full speed over to me, and just collapsed on my feet, rolling over for belly rubs. I sat down on the grass. I cried.
You cried.
It was a spiritual awakening. The puppy looked into my soul. It was pure, unconditional love in a world full of chaos.
You cried over a stranger's dog in a public park.
It was incredibly moving. You wouldn't understand. What is your rose?
Well, my Rose was sitting on a patio, drinking an iced Americano, and analytically judging the Easter Sunday outfits walking by.
You're so mean.
The sheer volume of tragic pastels, the ill-fitting seersucker suits. Let's talk about the history of seersucker for a second.
Please educate us.
It was designed in the British colonial period in India to be breathable in extreme heat. It is a lightweight cotton. Watching men in the Northeast wear it when it's 50 degrees outside is a geographical and sartorial error.
Oh my God.
I saw a man in a salmon-colored suit with a mint green bow tie, and he looked like a walking packet of antacids. It was visually offensive, but my God, did it bring me joy to tear it apart in my group chat. Pure, snarky perfection.
You are so toxic. I'm obsessed.
Thank you. What was your thorn?
Okay, my thorn. It was an absolute tragedy. I went to get my favorite iced matcha latte with oat milk and the lavender cold foam.
The $8 one?
Yes, I paid my $8.
Oh.
I walked out of the cafe feeling gorgeous, feeling ready to conquer the day, and I tripped on a completely uneven piece of city sidewalk. The matcha went everywhere.
Oh, no.
All over my suede shoes, all over the ground. I just stood there completely frozen in shock. My day was ruined. Ruined.
I mean, dropping an $8 beverage on the pavement is a legitimate financial loss, so I will validate your pain there.
Thank you. It was devastating.
My thorn was entirely the fault of societal collapse, brunch traffic. And not just the vehicular traffic, but the absolute logistical nightmare of trying to get a table for brunch on holiday weekend.
Oh, brunch on Easter is a bloodbath.
We had a reservation. We arrive. The hostess, who is clearly 22 and completely dissociated from reality, tells us it will be just a few minutes.
It's never just a few minutes.
45 minutes later, we are still standing in a cramped entryway being bumped into by women in floral maxi dresses. The reservation system is fundamentally broken. If you take a reservation, hold the table, it is a verbal contract.
You get so mad at hostesses.
I get mad at systemic inefficiency. Restaurants overbook their floor plans by 20%, assuming people will cancel. And when they don't, the consumer pays the price in standing time.
It is annoying, I'll give you that.
Speaking of chaos and things that make us want to scream into our wine glasses, let's talk about Top Chef Season 23, Episode 5, Cut and Dry.
Yes. Oh my God. Pour the wine. Top up the glasses. We need to get into this because this episode sent me on an absolute roller coaster of emotions. We have so much to unpack.
We really do.
I want to start by talking about the psychology of competition because the situation with Jennifer is weighing heavy on my soul.
It is the defining narrative of the season right now. Let's look at the facts.
Jennifer's shoulder is in agonizing pain. We see her taking Chinese herbs, trying to manage the inflammation. Justin is carrying her heavy equipment around the kitchen for her. She looks completely physically defeated.
Yeah.
And right as the quickfire starts, she tells Kristen she has to step out. She just physically cannot do the 30-minute sprint.
And we have to remind the audience this is the second quickfire she has had to skip because of this injury.
I was crying for her. You could see how much she wants to be there. This is Top Chef. It's the dream, and your body's just failing you. So later, before the elimination judging, Kristen and Tom pull her aside for a very serious ultimatum.
And Tom and Kristen were entirely fair, which is rare for reality television.
Very rare.
Tom says, look, there is no more skipping challenges. You have two choices. You can leave right now, and you have an open, guaranteed invitation to return for any future season when you are 100% healthy. Or you stay, but if you miss one more single thing, you are instantly eliminated.
It was such a tense, dramatic moment. I am yelling at the TV like, Jennifer, go home, heal, come back and dominate next year.
Exactly. Because I used to think pushing through the pain was noble. But this isn't a marathon where you can just walk the last 3 miles to get the medal. This is a precision sport. You are going up against elite athletes who have both their arms.
Precisely. And she chooses to stay. It is the textbook definition of the sunk cost fallacy.
Let's break that down because I know you love behavioral economics.
Sunk cost fallacy is a cognitive bias. It happens when you continue a behavior or endeavor as a result of previously invested resources, time, money, or effort, even when it is objectively clear that abandoning the endeavor would be more beneficial.
Right.
Think about it like a toxic relationship. You've been dating a guy for 3 years. He's terrible. He leaves his socks everywhere. He doesn't text you back. He doesn't know your middle name.
Ugh, the worst.
But you stay with him because your brain says, well, I've already put 3 years into this. I can't start over now. That is Jennifer right now. That makes perfect sense. She's looking at all the time she spent auditioning, packing, leaving her restaurant, making it to episode 5, and she can't bear to let that investment go.
Yeah.
Even though the golden ticket Tom handed her a guaranteed spot next season is objectively the higher value option.
Exactly. She is in physical agony. Her dishes are suffering because she can't focus through the pain. Why on earth would you choose to struggle with a severe handicap against elite chefs when you could return fully healed with a clean slate?
Because she's a fighter. And because the other chefs, specifically Anthony and Jonathan, offer to help prep her food for her going forward, which was incredibly sweet.
Was it, though?
Yes, it shows how much they love her. They said they would each take on a prep task for her during quickfires. It was this beautiful moment of culinary camaraderie.
I am going to be the villain here. That camaraderie has an expiration date.
Oh, no. Why? Don't ruin this for me.
I have been reading the threads. The audience is already spiraling about this. Think about the mechanics of a professional kitchen. Right now, there are a lot of chefs left. But what happens when they get to Restaurant Wars?
Oh, my gosh. Restaurant Wars.
Yes. Restaurant Wars requires massive physical labor. It is a grueling 48-hour sprint of hauling tables, breaking down whole animals, and cooking for 50 people.
That's true.
Is she going to be locked into a front-of-house role because she physically can't chop? Are the other chefs going to start resenting her? Right now, Anthony and Jonathan are being generous. Wait until immunity is off the table and $250,000 is on the line. They are not going to want to chop her onions when they have their own protein burning on the stove.
Wow. When you put it like that, it feels like a ticking time bomb.
It absolutely is.
She said she just started taking steroids, so maybe she thinks the inflammation will magically vanish. But it feels so precarious. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pack your knives and heal.
Precisely. Now, let's shift gears from the psychology of injury to the absolute absurdity of the Quickfire challenge. Because if Jennifer's situation was tragic, the Quickfire was pure comedic chaos.
Let's talk about the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kristen Kish introduces the guest judge, who is Fortune Feimster. I love Fortune. She is so funny, so real.
She is.
And she is there representing Comic Relief, which is an amazing charity fighting childhood poverty and hunger. Beautiful cause.
Right. Good cause. Fortune is a great presence. But then the twist.
Fortune brings out her friends to judge the food.
Oh.
She's hyping it up like, oh, it's Jose Andres, Thomas Keller, Marcus Samuelson. And the chefs are having heart palpitations. They are sweating.
Naturally.
And out walk three little girls.
Yeah.
Kinsley, Wolf, and Anna Kate. They are like 8 or 9 years old.
I have never rolled my eyes harder in my entire life.
Oh, come on.
No, listen. This is Top Chef. This is the premier culinary competition on television. It has launched massive careers, and we are bringing in children to judge the food. This isn't MasterChef Junior. We want cutthroat culinary technique, not Kids Bop flavor profiles.
I think it's fun. They were adorable. And it forces the chefs to think completely outside their pretentious comfort zones.
Let's look at the parameters they set for this improv cooking challenge, though. Fortune and Kristen ask the kids what they like, and the kids say their favorite holiday is Christmas, they like Colorado, and Wolf says she likes Cheetos.
Right.
So the challenge words are Christmas, Colorado, and puffified.
Puffified. She made up a word. I was obsessed.
Babes, what are we even doing? The chefs are standing there and you can see their souls leaving their bodies. How do you cook a coherent, elevated dish based on Christmas, Colorado, and puffified?
It's a challenge.
And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, the kids throw in a wild card ingredient at the last second.
The corn nuts. Oh my gosh, the best part of this entire thing was Anna Kate, the 9-year-old. When she dropped the corn nut twist, she looked directly at the camera and said, "This is Top Chef. They can handle a corn nut."
Oh, she was vicious.
The sass. The sheer ruthless energy of this child. She was reading professional chefs for filth.
She was a total menace, Anthony muttered. They're figging with me today. And he was correct. You have 30 minutes to make a dish based on nonsense words, and now you have to incorporate convenience store corn nuts. The panic was palpable.
Let's talk about how the chefs handled it, because some of them absolutely panicked and made tragic food. Oscar, sweet Oscar.
Oh, Oscar.
They tried to make a pizza hot pocket using puff pastry to get the puffified element, but he deep fried it and it just soaked up all the oil. It was basically an oil sponge.
Yeah, let's dive into the culinary science of why that failed so spectacularly.
Please explain, because it looks so sad.
Puff pastry relies on a technique called lamination. It is hundreds of alternating layers of dough and butter. When you put puff pastry in a hot oven, the moisture inside the butter evaporates into steam.
Right, which gives it the lift.
Exactly. That steam pushes the layers of dough upward, creating that beautiful, flaky rise. But when you drop raw puff pastry into a deep fryer, the mechanism of lamination completely fails.
Because of the oil.
Right. The hot oil immediately breaches those fragile layers, replacing the escaping steam with heavy, viscous grease. You destroy the structural integrity entirely. It becomes heavy, greasy, and dense. Of course it was in the bottom.
That makes so much sense. It's like taking a beautifully constructed kite and trying to fly it underwater. It's the wrong element entirely.
That's a very poetic way of putting it, but yes.
Right.
And then Rhoda made a lamb shepherd's pie with ranch seasoning and corn nuts. She tried to make the potato topping puffy, but you do not serve gamey lamb to an 8-year-old.
You really don't.
Yeah.
And Sherry made fried chicken with cheesy grits and Christmas flavors, but she put a deep-fried whole rosemary leaf on the plate.
Which was absurd.
And Wolf looked at it with pure disgust and said, "I thought you were trying to feed me a leaf." It was devastating. Sherry, what are you doing giving a whole fried herb sprig to a child who just told you her favorite food is Cheetos? You have to know your audience.
And the chefs who did know their audience figured out the secret. The secret to cooking for kids is sugar.
Sugar always wins. Brandon completely understood the assignment.
You really do.
He made Colorado vanilla ice cream with Nutella, a cornet crunch, and maple syrup.
Mhm.
Was it puffy?
Mm.
No. Did he care? No. He just gave him a bowl of sugar. And he won.
He won $10,000 for the most obvious kid food ever, and Top Chef matched it with $10,000 to Comic Relief, which is wonderful, but it was incredibly smart gameplay. He didn't try to elevate it. He pandered directly to the palate of his judges.
But the real shocker to me was Seeger. Let's talk about Seeger, because his reaction to this entire challenge was iconic reality television.
Seeger is my hero. Seeger has clearly never interacted with a child in his life, and he made that very clear. His absolute vitriol toward this challenge was the funniest thing on television this week.
He literally said on national television, if I win this $10,000 Quickfire cash, I'm getting a vasectomy. I choked on my wine. Who says that?
A visionary says that. Someone who understands that children's palates are chaotic and pandering to them is exhausting. He was looking at those kids like they were hostile alien invaders. The sheer lack of interest he had in their opinions, I respected it so much.
But the irony is he actually ended up in the top. The man who wants a vasectomy cooked one of their favorite dishes.
It's hilarious.
He made a peppermint and white chocolate crema catalana with puffed sorghum, strawberries, and pomegranate.
Let's explain what a crema catalana is because it's brilliant. It is a traditional Spanish dessert, very similar to a creme brulee, but it's typically made with milk rather than heavy cream, thickened with egg yolks and cornstarch, and infused with citrus peel and cinnamon.
This is amazing.
It is smooth, rich, and sweet. By adding puffed sorghum, which is a grain that pucks up exactly like tiny sweet popcorn, he gave them the puffified element they wanted. Popcorn and white chocolate, again, sugar wins. But the irony of the guy who hates cooking for kids executing a sophisticated Spanish dessert that they actually loved, it's chef's kiss.
Okay, we have to move on to the elimination challenge, because if the Quickfire was comedic chaos, the elimination challenge was an elemental disaster.
Yeah.
The producers chose violence.
Let's talk about the physics of water in this challenge.
So Kristen tells them they are going to the U.S. National Whitewater Center. It's this massive, amazing, human-made whitewater river in North Carolina. Zip-lining, rafting, it looks so fun. I want to go there on a tube with a margarita.
Yes, a beautiful aquatic facility. And what is the culinary theme of the challenge they must execute at this water park? Dehydration.
I'm just so confused.
It is the absolute irony of doing a dehydration challenge at a water park in the middle of humid North Carolina. You are asking them to remove moisture from food in a climate that is practically sweating water vapor.
It is sick and twisted. So they have 75 minutes in the Top Chef kitchen to prep and put ingredients into the dehydrators. They have to leave them overnight for 24 hours and then finish the dishes at the Whitewater Center the next day outdoors.
And the prep chaos was real. First of all, the twins, Brandon and Jonathan.
Oh, the twin telepathy backfired so hard. They both independently decided to make pavlovas with dehydrated fruit. And Jonathan looks over and realizes his brother is doing the exact same dessert.
Which is a massive strategic error on Top Chef. You never go head-to-head with the same dish, especially against your twin, because the judges will inevitably compare them side by side.
Right, one of them has to lose.
Exactly. One of you will automatically be the loser. And Brandon had just won the Quickfire with the dessert, so Jonathan wisely pivots. He drops the pavlova and decides to make smoked swordfish instead.
Which was so smart. But Brandon sticks with the pavlova, and he puts all his beautiful piped meringues in the dehydrator. Fast forward to the next day at the Whitewater Center, Charlotte, North Carolina. The ambient humidity is probably 90%.
Brandon opens his dehydrator, and it was a tragedy. The meringues were sweating, they were waterlogged, they were weeping. They didn't dry out at all.
Let's explain why that happened, because it feels like it shouldn't. They were in a machine designed to dry things out.
True.
It's like when I spend an hour blowing out my hair, making it perfectly sleek, and then I step outside in August and it immediately frizzes into a triangle. The environment just attacks it.
Your hair analogy is actually scientifically perfect. It comes down to hygroscopy. Sugar is highly hygroscopic, meaning it actively attracts and absorbs water molecules from its surrounding environment.
Oh, interesting.
A meringue is essentially just egg whites and a massive amount of sugar. In a dehydrator, you use low heat and a fan to pull moisture out of the food. But if the air that the fan is circulating is already saturated with 90% humidity from the North Carolina River, the sugar in the meringue will just pull that moisture right back in. It was a scientific inevitability that those meringues would fail in that climate.
But this is why Brandon is a beast. He didn't cry. He didn't give up. He looked at these weird, chewy, wet meringues and immediately pivoted.
Yep.
He decides to bake a matcha cupcake on the spot, and he uses the ruined meringues as rocks on the plate. He called them hazelnut and brown butter meringue rocks.
It was a brilliant mental save. He turned a failed texture into an intentional aesthetic choice. That is adaptability.
Unlike our sweet Oscar.
Oh, Oscar, I was yelling at the screen. I was covering my eyes.
It was a meltdown of epic proportions.
He decides to make a lamb chop with yellow grits, asparagus, and dehydrated elements of his mother's mole sauce.
Yeah.
Beautiful concept. He puts the lamb in the oven to cook, and then he just doesn't hear the timer.
How do you not hear the timer? You are in a competition. You watch that oven like a hawk.
I know. He pulls it out, and the lamb is completely hammered. It is gray. It is overcooked. It is a tragedy. He wanted medium rare, and he got shoe leather.
Let's talk about the difference between dehydration and overcooking, because it's important.
Yeah. When you properly dehydrate meat like making jerky, you use very low heat over a long period. This slowly removes the water without intensely contracting the muscle fibers, and it gives the enzymes time to break down some of the tough collagen.
Right, which makes it chewy but edible.
Exactly. When you accidentally leave a lamb chop in a hot oven, the high heat rapidly squeezes the moisture out of the muscle fibers, tightening them into rigid cords. It doesn't become jerky, it becomes unchewable rubber. He hammered the lamb. Honestly, if he was smart, he could have just plated it and said, "Look, judges, you wanted a dehydrated challenge. Here's a dry-ass lamb. I dehydrated the protein for you."
Stop it. That is so mean but so funny. He could have spun it like, this is my jerky-inspired lamb chop.
Yeah.
But he was so sad. You could see the light go out of his eyes.
Yeah, he knew it was over.
And meanwhile, Jennifer is pushing through her injury. She made a smoked catfish dip with dehydrated herbs, and she baked a focaccia with dehydrated lemon. And she got it on the plate. The judges actually liked it. But she gave them the tiniest piece of bread I have ever seen.
It was a crouton. You cannot serve a dip and give Tom Colicchio a single crouton. He wants a vessel for the dip. But honestly, given her arm, the fact that she needed a focaccia dough at all is a structural miracle.
It really is. Okay, let's get into the judging. Savannah Miller from season 21 was a guest judge, along with Joe and Katie Kindred. Let's talk about the top three: Sherry, Duyan, and Anthony.
Sherry's dish was incredibly elegant. Pan-seared sea bass with a summertime cassoulet, smoked Kalamata olive crumble, and dehydrated tomato skins and chips.
I love that she did a cassoulet, but what exactly makes it summery?
Well, a traditional cassoulet is a rich, slow-cooked casserole originating in the south of France, containing meat, usually pork sausages, goose, or duck and white beans. It is heavy. It is meant to sustain you through a cold winter.
Yeah, that sounds like winter food.
By swapping the heavy meats for a delicate pan-seared sea base and using the dehydrated tomato skins for bright, concentrated acidity and crunch, she completely flipped the profile. It showed immense restraint and technique.
And Indian. Coconut braised pork belly, radicchio, Thai basil chimichurri, and rice with dehydrated shrimp and aromatics. Tom literally devoured that plate. He couldn't stop eating it.
But the winner, Anthony, our analytical king.
He won Best Dish and Immunity. He made a cured salmon with banga broth and dehydrated smoked oyster-infused rice.
I have to gloat about this for a second, because Anthony was in the bottom last week for his collard greens disaster. They were so salty they were basically inedible.
It was rough.
And he bounced back, focused, didn't let it get to his head, and delivered this deeply complex dish. Let's explain banga broth because it is phenomenal. It is a traditional Nigerian soup made from the extract of palm nut fruit. It has this deep, earthy, incredibly rich and nutty flavor profile.
Wow.
It takes immense skill to balance. And by adding dehydrated smoked oyster to the rice, he created a genius umami bomb that complemented the cured salmon perfectly.
I was so happy for him. But then, the bottom three. The chopping block. Lawrence, Oscar, and Rhoda.
Lawrence made this brassica salad with trail mix, a creamy sesame dressing, and a pomegranate glace. The judges hated it. They said it was greasy, the dressing was too heavy, and the pomegranate glace made no sense on a salad.
Poor Lawrence.
Tug had a savage quote. He said, "This dish really needs a dehydrator," meaning it was too wet and oily. But Lawrence survives because of the other two.
Yes. Oscar is in the bottom for the hammered lamb. The judges loved his dehydrated mole, but the meat was just ruined. And then there is Rhoda. I am still devastated. Rhoda is a fan favorite.
Rhoda made a squid ink-crusted roasted monkfish. with squid ink adobo sauce, dehydrated broccoli, and a garlic chip.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
The flavor was entirely one-note squid ink, which is so overpowering and briny, but the real issue was the monkfish. It had this weird, wet, spongy, almost raw texture.
And here's where we get to the golden rule of Top Chef judging, the philosophical difference between an accidental mistake and poor judgment.
This part blew my mind. I used to think Top Chef judging was unfair, because Rhoda's mistake felt smaller than Oscar's ruined lamb. But I realized it's like taking a driving test. Oscar sped because he missed a sign of mistake. He knew he was wrong.
Right.
Rhoda intentionally drove on the wrong side of the road because she genuinely thought it was a valid shortcut. She defended the spongy texture of the monkfish. She thought it was good.
That is the perfect analogy. On Top Chef, poor judgment thinking a fundamentally flawed dish is actually successful will always send you home over someone who just made a timing error.
Because they can't taste it.
Exactly. It shows a lack of palate awareness. You can teach someone to set a timer. You cannot teach someone to taste their food and realize it is texturally repulsive.
It is so harsh, but so true. So Rhoda goes home. She's eliminated. I didn't want her to go.
Yeah.
But wait, she is not fully gone. She goes to Last Chance Kitchen.
Last Chance Kitchen this week was incredible. So Rhoda walks into LCK, and who is standing there waiting for her? Nana, the reigning LCK champ. She had already won 2 elimination challenges before she got booted. She is a powerhouse.
And Tom Colicchio gives them their challenge. They had to make a dish capturing the essence of Myrtle Beach's famous she crab soup.
Let's talk about the history of she crab soup, because it is fascinating. It originated in Charleston, South Carolina in the 1920s, but its roots go back to the Scottish settlers who brought crab bisques, heavily influenced by the culinary traditions of the enslaved Gullah Geechee people.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is an incredibly rich, creamy soup made with blue crab meat, heavy cream sherry, and crucially, crab roe the eggs from the female crab, which give the soup its orange tint and slightly briny, thickened texture.
It sounds so decadent, but Tom drops the twist. It cannot be soup. They have 30 minutes to make a dish that has the soul and essence of she crab soup without the liquid format.
Nana goes for comfort. She makes a crab mac and cheese. She puts the crab roe into the cheese sauce, tops it with sherry, and serves it with fried crab claws.
Which sounds absolutely incredible. I want a bowl of that right now.
But Rhoda goes a completely different route. She channels her dad, who used to travel to Singapore, and she makes a Singaporean chili crab.
A super bold move. Because chili crab is spicy and sweet and totally different from the creamy profile of a traditional she crab soup.
But here is the genius analytical move that Rhoda makes. She cooks the crabs directly in her sauce. She doesn't just use pre-picked crab meat and fold it in at the end. She cooks the shells and the bodies in the broth.
Why does that matter so much? Like, does it really change the flavor?
Absolutely, because of the chitin. The shells of crustaceans contain massive amounts of lipid-soluble flavor compounds. When you boil or simmer the shells in a sauce, especially one with oil or fat, it extracts all of that deep, complex ocean flavor into the liquid. It amplifies the crab flavor tenfold compared to just using the white meat.
And when Tom tastes it, he is blown away. He tells Nana her mac and cheese is delicious, but it needed to be baked longer to get that crust. But he chooses Rhoda. He chooses her because she nailed the assignment. The challenge was crab essence, and by cooking the crabs in the sauce, her dish tasted infinitely more like crab than Nana's.
So Rhoda gets her chef's coat back. She is still in the game. And we pour one out for Nana. She cooked her heart out, but she is officially out of the competition.
Okay, my heart rate is finally returning to normal. Let's get into our segments. Segment 1, dish envy. What did we see on that screen that we desperately wish we could eat?
You go first. I know you're craving something.
I am aggressively claiming Dion's coconut braised pork belly with the Thai basil chimichurri and the dehydrated shrimp rice. First of all, pork belly is my ultimate weakness.
It is so rich, though.
When it is braised perfectly, the fat renders down so it literally melts on your tongue, but the meat stays tender. And pairing that incredibly rich, fatty cut with a bright, herby, acidic Thai basil chimichurri, it cuts right through the richness. It balances the palate. Yeah. Tom devoured that plate. I paused the TV, looked at my phone, and searched for pork belly delivery near me. I need it delivered to my 75-degree apartment immediately.
You are so predictable. I am going a different route. I am choosing Sherry's Summertime Cassoulet with the pan-seared sea base, smoked calamon olive crumble, and dehydrated tomato skins.
Okay, fancy.
It wasn't just fancy, it was the only elegant thing happening in a challenge full of sweaty meringues and dry lamb. The texture of the olive crumble against the perfectly seared, flaky skin of a sea bass. It showed restraint. I would pay $45 for that in a restaurant right now. Or, alternatively, if I'm honoring my inner child, I want Justin's chicken tenders from the Quickfire.
Yes, Justin's chicken tenders with a turkey gravy. Honestly, give me a perfectly fried chicken tender and a glass of wine, and I am a happy girl. Okay, segment 2, chef to watch. Who is standing out to us right now?
My chef to watch is Anthony. He won immunity, he gave us an incredible bang of broth, and most importantly, he bounced back from the bottom. Top Chef is a mental game.
It really is.
When you get crushed by the judges one week, a lot of chefs get in their heads. They second-guess their seasoning, they play it safe, and they crumble the next week. Anthony didn't. He is analytical, he is focused, and he clearly has a deep well of cultural flavor profiles to pull from. He is a tactician.
I love that. But I am going to point to Brandon.
Brandon, the guy who made basic vanilla ice cream.
Yes, the guy who made basic ice cream. Listen to me. He won the $10,000 Quickfire by smartly playing to the kids. He didn't let his ego get in the way. And then in the Elimination Challenge, when the humidity completely ruined his meringues, he didn't spiral, he didn't freeze.
He did pivot nicely.
He pivoted like a pro and baked a matcha cupcake on the fly and used the ruined meringues as a garnish. That is final table adaptability. You have to be able to roll with the punches when the environment fights you, and he did it perfectly.
That is a fair argument. Adaptability is key. Segment 3, kitchen disaster. The biggest fail of the episode.
I have to say it because it breaks my heart. Oscar's lamb chops. You cannot forget your meat in the oven on Top Chef. It is day one culinary school stuff.
Truly basic.
Set a timer, check your proteins. Ruining a beautiful piece of lamb like that, it physically hurt me to watch. He is so talented, but the execution completely failed him.
I agree the lamb was bad, but I am going to argue that the real disaster of this episode was not a dish, it was the entire Quickfire concept.
Oh my God, you are still mad about the kid.
I will never not be mad. 3 little girls dictating a puffified corn nut Christmas in Colorado challenge. It completely undermined the caliber of chefs they have cast this season. We want to see them push culinary boundaries, not try to figure out how to hide vegetables from an 8-year-old.
You need to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Have a sip of wine. They raised $10,000 for charity.
The charity is the only redeeming factor. Final segment. Segment 4. Final table energy. Who is making it to the end? Who do we see in the finale?
I'm going to throw a wild card into the mix. I am putting Rhoda on my final table list.
Rhoda, the woman who just got eliminated.
Yes. She is the dark horse. She just took out the reigning LCK champ. She figured out how to distill the essence of crab in 30 minutes. She has that redemption arc energy. She is going to fight her way back into the main competition, and she is going to be hungry for it. Do not sleep on Rhoda.
A Last Chance Kitchen comeback to the finale is a classic Top Chef storyline. I respect the prediction. I am confidently predicting that Anthony and Dion are locked in for the long haul.
Oh, good picks.
They both have incredibly consistent, distinct flavor profiles. Dion's Vietnamese and French background is yielding these flawless, savory, complex dishes that Tom clearly loves. And Anthony is showing that he can master high-end technique while staying true to his roots. Unless they make a catastrophic timing error like Oscar, they are going to the end.
What an episode. Okay, Snark Squad, let's wrap up this spiral.
It has been a journey tonight.
Truly. From the cold weather chaos and our heated, literally heated apartment drama.
To our wild, financially irresponsible moving fantasies and the massive food cravings from this messy, dehydrated episode of Top Chef.
Where would you move? Favorite dish this episode? And babes, what temp is your apartment?
Validate me, please. Tell me 59 degrees is a travesty. Rate, review, subscribe, send submissions. Send this to your foodie bestie.
Massive thank you to the Snark Squad.
Stay shady.
Stay fed.
And we'll see you on the Snark side.